Hey, I'm J.D. Frost and welcome to the Daily Ledger podcast. We've got Lynn Gibson with us here again today. We are discussing traction and those business owners like myself at one point in time that were one-man bands and how we are able to create an orchestra to create an amazing sound for all of our clients and everything. I'm going to run that analogy on.
You can just take off with that one.
Yeah. But anyway, Traction is an amazing book. It's a book that we are able to help a lot of business owners with in our organization, and Lynn is on our consultation team at CROFT FROST that helps clients one-on-one and or in a group capacity apply traction to their business. And you've been coaching some of our clients on an individual level for like the last year, right? I mean, that just about
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
2 years? Yeah, wow. So 2 years. And in the last episode, you kind of learned a little bit how Lynn and I kind of came together and started working together a little bit more. But finally, we got Lynn all the way in now, right?
All in.
Yeah, all in. And so what we wanted to focus on today was to give you some examples of some of the issues and situations that Lynn has seen some of his clients in, and kind of take maybe 3 examples if we could, kind of think about that. I know you're thinking off the cuff here, but I'll help you remember some of them.
No worries.
But, for example, one of the clients that you had, you started out with him, he's a one-man band, and you took basically he went from 3 million to what, 30 million?
30 million, yeah.
What would you say was the one thing that made that happen for him?
I think the one thing is that most entrepreneurs get started out of the gate because they are multitaskers. They are able to get the business going and market it and run the accounting and everything involved. But quickly, that starts really capping off their ability. And so helping them learn what it is that they do uniquely well and focus on that, and then build a team around the other areas that they don't do as well, and starting then to see this business growing as a team instead of that one person running all across. Now, that sounds easy, but that's a hard thing to make that transition.
How do I figure out what I am uniquely good at?
Well, I think one of the best ways is to literally take some time to list everything that has to get done in the business. I mean, from the point you walk in and make the coffee till when you leave and lock the door on the way out. Make a list of everything that happens in your business, and make the assumption, take each one at a time, and make the assumption that you were going to do that 12 straight hours and then 12 hours the next day. How would you feel if you did that on each of those things?
Each of those activities?
Each of those activities.
Okay.
Now, here's the problem. People are notorious for confusing motivation with ability. The business owner is oftentimes good in all of those areas, but it's not because they're uniquely skilled, it's because they're so motivated.
Right.
They're the best salesperson because they need the money.
They're gonna work.
They're the best accounting person because they want the numbers in line.
Yes.
But what are they uniquely good at? The answer is pick each one, assume that you did it for 12 hours. How do you feel at the end of that? If doing it, you're good at doing it and you're getting results, but you're feeling like you've just been beat up at the end of the day, you're not going to do that long. But somewhere in that list are some things that when you do them 12 hours, you can't wait to do them 12 hours more.
Now, can you pick 4 or 5 things that you're uniquely good at? Like, how many can you get to?
To the point that now you are uniquely good at them, but now simply time is keeping you from being very good at them because you're spending 10% of your time on each one. So you first narrow them by what you really are uniquely good at, then narrow them by what time will allow and where can you make the best progress.
Okay, and then would you say time being allowed, if it's an 8-hour day, you got to be spending at least, 4 different chunks, so 2 hours a time? Would that be enough?
I think that's different for different people, but you certainly know where is the point where there's not enough time on any one thing that you're able to see it move forward. You're saying to yourself, I could really move that forward if I had more time.
If I had more time.
That's when you've got to narrow down.
I need to narrow down my unique abilities.
But within those choices, they are still all the ones that you love doing and you could do them forever.
That's interesting. So for that specific client, that's what ended up taking him from 3 to 30, because he got super focused.
He got super focused on his unique ability, and more importantly, started building team members who he realized the importance that they needed to be in their unique ability.
Gotcha.
And when that starts happening, that everybody on your team is in the seats that are really unique to them, big things can happen.
So what did you help him with in particular in bringing awareness to that?
I think just the conversations about how much progress are you making doing all those things.
Yeah.
I think one thing that helps too is the realization that in any great business, there is always really 3 businesses in one. In every great business, there is a part of that business that's usually sales oriented. And someone or some group of people need to be on sales and do nothing else. Then there's operations, and the people in that group should be all the time operating, never in sales. And thirdly, there's usually some kind of an accounting function. So within those 3 parameters, if someone can get on one side or the other there, that's a real narrowing. So for this person, he was trying to do sales, operations, and accounting. And when I said, you have got to be in one of those 3, that was a huge jump.
Gotcha.
And for him, it was sales.
Sales, yeah.
And then the next person he brought in hated sales, loved operations. That's when you start building team members that can work together.
So if you, does it talk about that in Traction, I'm assuming?
When you're, yes, the part of it is getting the right people in the right seats.
Right people, right seats.
Yeah.
But actually breaking down your business, I mean, just about any business can be broken down into sales, operations, accounting, or finances, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
So even if you are, that one-man band out there, just laying those out there and picking one of them is one of the first steps,
yes.
would you say?
And it's one of the first steps, and then a real step to growth is when you can say, I have at least one person full-time thinking about nothing but one of those 3 sections.
Gotcha.
You'll
Yes.
begin the scaling process when sales are managed by someone all the time, when operations all the time, and when you have someone in accounting all the time watching over your numbers.
Yeah.
Now from there...
Now that's the hardest part to find, really.
No,
it seems
that's
like
always on the last of the list.
Can you outsource that? Or do you have to have somebody on your team that's doing that?
I think you can outsource it in the beginning.
Okay.
But when you really have the capacity to scale is when someone's on your team doing nothing but that.
Okay.
And, most entrepreneurs think accounting is to be done on a Sunday afternoon once a month for an hour watching the ball game. But it needs to be someone who's there looking at it all the time. The numbers will kill you.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's the first example, and really, really good information there on what kind of made that business owner go from that one-man band to the orchestra. How many people work with him now?
Went from 1 to now 30.
Holy cow, 1 to
Yeah,
30, that's
yeah.
amazing. So do you have another example of maybe something specific from Traction that you can think of for another one of your clients that we could talk about?
Yes, there's so many, but I think another one is under the section in the book about issues. Building the capacity for issues, things that aren't working, things that need to be adjusted, building a concept where those issues can be brought to the forefront by anyone, addressed by everyone, and a system that focuses on having those issues resolved and moved off the list. So building more communication capacity and for everyone to be able to raise the issues. And one way to do that is to have a constant set meeting. For some it's once a week, for some it's once a quarter, to be fully aware of what the issues are and how they're going to be addressed.
So the meeting cadence that's recommended in Traction is what helped that client to be able to raise those issues and handle those issues because it was more transparent.
Because it was more transparent and there was an emphasis put on, please, let's bring the issues forward, let's move them off the list. And that's really what advancing a business is eliminating the issues and getting down the road.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing as a business owner sometimes is to hear all those issues at one time because you're the one that kind of handled them for a while. And you were able to handle an issue very quickly because you just felt how to move, but you couldn't handle 100 of them at one time, which is because your business is growing so rapidly, it's impossible to handle all of them. So the difficult thing is to hear all that, especially from people who are new and coming in and going like, oh, well, this needs to change and this needs to change and this is terrible, and as a business owner, you're like, God,
And I guess a third powerful thing that's helping is under this section about getting the right data. One of the things that will let an entrepreneur let go of some things is if they build a system in which the key data points that they need to watch over that area that maybe they used to be working in, there's a key dashboard of data that's coming back to them.
Yep.
In the book, it's called a scorecard.
Yep.
But most of the time, in the past, the owner is chasing down people to get the information. It's reversing that and putting the obligation on them to come up with 3 to 5 matrix.
I'm telling you, this is huge. Sorry to interrupt you, but if you're listening to this is so huge to put the requirement to report the information on the team.
Yes. And every day they have to report back. There's always, I don't care if it's the assistant who's answering the phone. How many times did the phone ring?
There's a number.
There's a number. And with certain numbers on 3 to 5 areas, the owner can just look at that dashboard and tell how that department's doing. And it's so relieving the freedom to concentrate on what you're doing when you can just get some few data points to know it's on track.
Yes.
The key is the obligation for them to help determine what is it in their job that's crucial information and their commitment to provide it to you.
Yes, yeah, I can talk from some direct experience how important this scorecard, we call it the red flag report, how important this is to your business. And if you're not applying that right now, you're missing out, because also just the metrics that you're building year over year over year, and you're able to start doing that comparison and analysis between like what your capacity actually is versus what everybody's telling you. Gosh, you can make such a
and the
huge
key
difference.
for that to work, most business owners I talk with agree with that concept. Where it breaks down is, well, what do I get from the person answering the phone? What do I get from my accountant? You know, well, the answer to that is ask them. Ask them, what is it that makes for you having a good day?
Yes.
How would you define a good day? Well, if I've got so much of this done.
A good day being a productive
day.
Yeah.
I've got so much of this done. I was able to solve this many problems. They'll tell you. Then if that's what you say makes for a good day, then what I need to know is you're having a good productive day.
Right.
Tell me every day how many of those you're having. So that's all you're doing is monitoring when they're not having a productive day.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Awesome. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for being on the Daily Ledger podcast again. We're going to go one more episode. We're going to go 3 because Lynn has some little gems to tell you from time to time as an entrepreneur. And for me, being a young business owner, I get to hear these gems and this wisdom from him from time to time. So
we're bringing the old school out.
We're going to talk about that in the next episode. We're going to call it Old School Advice from Lynn Gibson. That's what we're going to call it.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Daily Ledger podcast. I love how I get to throw this stuff in here. And if you haven't checked out the Life Ledger book, please do www.thelifeledgerbook.com. Hope you have a great day.